So let's get to it. Let's get to it. First and foremost, I do apologize about yesterday. I had no idea. I'm sitting here running it with no audio. My headset had went out right before we were supposed to start getting it cracking. So I was trying to scramble real quick, get it popping, and this shit just never fell through. But we back. So first and foremost, I do want to thank everybody who joined us. Make sure you guys like the channel, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Make sure you guys share each one, teach one, all that good stuff. Make sure you guys tap into the Patreon page. If you guys are actually following the Patreon page and following the stocks that I've given, then you're up very well. So make sure you guys subscribe to the Patreon page. Once I actually start sharing this, the link will be available, but you can also tap into the link in the bio. What strain was that at 35%? It was looking good. It was Master Kush, bro. Master Kush. I got 4 different kinds that I just started. Well, they're past clone stage. They're actually getting adolescent stage, so it should be good. Yeah, I know, man. We got audio. We back. So once again, I do apologize about yesterday. So let's get into it. So the market is pretty flat today. We talk about this every Thursday. Thursdays are when the jobless report is announced. So before I get into what was talked about yesterday, we'll talk about why the market is what it is today. So first and foremost, the jobless report actually went up over the last week. So it actually went up for the first time in 7 weeks. It looks like the jobless report looks like it ended up at 412,000 filed for unemployment, more than expected. We actually only expected 360,000 people filing for unemployment. Obviously, that's a real big number going the other way. So anytime something like that happens, you can just expect the market is just not going to really participate the way we want, simply just due to our favorite word, inflation. The only way that inflation becomes a real thing, I say this every single time, is people have to start not necessarily getting back to work, because if you start a business, that's cool too, but we have to start getting to the money that doesn't include us relying on the government. Let's just leave it at that. I don't want to keep forcing the whole get a job shit, because quite honestly, if you can get the money out the mud, I prefer that, because I'm a natural entrepreneur myself. But people filing for unemployment means that people are doing the opposite of getting to the money without government assistance. And now, I'm not knocking government assistance, but the reality is there are jobs that are literally paying money just for people to get to work. So, that is the biggest thing. Now, one thing to keep in mind with this jobless report, it probably won't look like this next week. Part of my shit going mute yesterday was me saying that 8 more states actually filed to remove federal unemployment. So, and I think off the top of my head, Alabama, Idaho, it was 8 states. West Virginia, I know, was one of them. 8 states in total just announced yesterday that they're going to be scrapping the federal unemployment. So next week, this number is going to naturally just go down, simply just due to the fact that it won't be available for 8 more states worth of people. So the number is going to naturally go down. Also, with the fact that people actually, over 2.3 million people actually received another stimulus check in the last week. I know one of my twins just got one last week. That also has a lot to do with people not going back to work. You get a big lump sum, you think you got it like that all over again. So these things have a factor into why the jobless report is what it is. But once again, because of 8 states actually removing this next week, removing it next week, that number should go down pretty drastically. So, yesterday we had the Fed chair meeting. Once again, Fed Chair Powell, Jerome Powell. Learn this name, get comfortable with this name. This guy literally affects how we make money, what we like. He like what he says really affects these things. So he actually had a conference yesterday. It was actually a 2-day conference, but yesterday it was like his formal speech where he answered questions and gave like his general consensus from the federal department in terms of how the economy is doing. So I do want to talk about that, because a lot of why the market is doing what it is doing today and really going towards the next couple of years has a lot to do with what he said yesterday. So first off, he did finally admit that the interest rate is not where we expect it to be. They did predict that it was only going to go up roughly about 3%. It gone up roughly about 5% over the last year. So obviously that's a cause for concern. He did not raise the interest rate today, but he did say by 2023, which is obviously within the next 18 months, that they could raise the interest rate two times, not just once, but two times to catch up with this, with the inflation. Now, one thing he did also mention, which I think is something that we should all think about, as to why people are not going to jobs as quickly as we would like them to. We have had a really, really large influx of people retiring because of COVID. You know, teachers, a lot of people who just didn't feel comfortable with going back into the workplace with multiple people who maybe had pre-existing conditions. It's a really, really large number of people who are retiring over the last year. I don't know if it's because of COVID, but I would think that COVID had a lot to do with it. I know for a lot of teachers in the school district I'm at, I know a lot of them retired because they were forcing them to go to school. Motherfuckers didn't want to go to school. They like, bro, I'm not trying to get sick because of these little scrub ass niggas. I'm not mad at that. So you know that has a lot to do with why people haven't gotten to work as fast as we had thought that they would. Is people retiring? It's a mixture of retirement and people relying basically off of the government. But he did say that the market is still looking to do better. It is, you know, moving forward, and it is going to get back to normal. He did say because of the amount of retirees, it could take upwards to like a year or two to kind of make up for all these people retiring. And once again, that may have something to do with why they're actually raising the interest rate over the next year or two. Once again, he said they're going to be raising it possibly two times in the next 18 months. So, you know, obviously this is important if you own a house. If you own a house, federal interest, I mean, that's part of, you know, what you're paying. So that affects you even if you don't own stocks. But if you do own stocks, what it's making is that the whole market in as a whole is gonna be flat for a while, y'all. Like it's gonna be flat for a while. A lot of them stocks that you normally rely on to do things that's gonna make you money, it's gonna be slow and flat for a while. So there's two different types of ways you can go about, you know, getting to this bag, you know, while this slow process is going. You can either gamble and, you know, risk dealing with the Doges and the AMCs and the GameStops and all these other different meme stocks that could potentially flop on you because they hold no real value. Or you can invest into more moderate stocks or moderate ETFs that will probably never give you the income that a double up from a Dogecoin would give. But that is a problem. And this was something that I was talking about yesterday, and I hate that I was muted about it, but I'll just reiterate it. The stock market as a whole, as of late, and when I say the stock market, I'm talking more the retail investors, motherfuckers like me and you who wasn't thinking about markets 2 or 3 years ago, who decided to get into it now. A lot of y'all treating this shit like the casino. A lot of y'all treating this shit like the casino, where you're putting money into something that you really don't know shit about. You really not doing no research. You're just looking on Facebook. You see a nigga say, "Yo, I just doubled up off this shit," and you say, "Oh man, well let me get a part of it too." You're not really doing your due diligence to know if this is something that's for you. So we've kind of conditioned ourselves to think that that's how the stock market works, where it's just about let me put money into it, and if I didn't basically double up in 3 months, then it's a dub. And we have to get away from that thought process because, once again, I can't stress this enough. The stock market is meant to be stayed in between 3 to 5 years. 3 to 5 years minimum. Normally, if you're not in it for that long, you should probably consider options trading, which, once again, I'm never going to promote for this because if you look at this 2 days later, then you're going to end up making a bad investment that's going to lose you money. I will eventually start talking about options trading on my Patreon page, but we're going to take a while just to build that up too, because I want to make sure I'm dealing with a community that's prepared to actually take those proper steps. But you know, that is the type of thing that you would want to look into if you're looking to make consistent high income. If it's not that, you need to look into things like ETFs. You need to look into things like penny stocks. You need to look at what stocks are just now becoming available. Once again, for my Patreon people, my VIP Patreon page, I actually release what stocks are going public that week every single week. So every single Sunday, you can go to my Patreon page and you can see what stocks are going public. A lot of times that's your best opportunity to really come up, is catching something on the ground floor. Too many times we trying to find some shit after it already cracked, and those would be the niggas that lose the most money. The people who are following a trend. Don't follow a trend. Do your due diligence on what is going to pop 6 months from now and get into that, because that's how the real stock traders make their money. It's based on futures, not based on the present. So, I only say that to say, if you're looking to get a lick, granted, you got your AMCs, all the meme stocks are up today. So I don't want to sit here and shit on the meme stocks, but once again, volatility is a real thing. And just how they go up, they could possibly go down tomorrow. And that's just not a way of living life, especially if your face isn't in front of a computer or some type of platform all day, every day to know when to get out. So if that's not you, then you need to look in some of these other stocks that may not make you a lot of money today, but if you're constantly putting $50 to $100 into that, let's just say every check you get, you put $100 into S&P 500, or some of these other ETF stocks. You're gonna long term make more money doing that than you will off putting a lump sum into some shit today. And that's just how the stock market works. If you do follow my Patreon page, I actually drop some content on Wednesday that speaks specific to two ETFs that are not really popular but are doing really, really well. If you actually are following my Patreon page and you actually got on those ETFs, then you're making money today. So congratulations to you guys. But that's pretty much it, guys. That's really all it comes down to. The market is flat for two reasons. Unemployment rate went up, and Fed Chair Powell announced that they're going to be raising the interest rate possibly a couple times over the next 2 years. So once again, I would just say, if you're not already, find a game plan that's going to make you guys money that doesn't include you having to put your money into fire. You can put the money into the fire, but just don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it today, guys, though. As always, make sure you guys subscribe to the Patreon page. We'll have some new content tomorrow on some stocks that you can look into that actually is making you money. And once again, we're doing content for the Patreon page Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We're going to be doing Fetti Talk once again next Tuesday. But till then, see you guys later. Have a good one.